National Cinema Day is today. You got a few hours left to get those $4 tickets. There's over 3,000 theaters and 30,000 screens participating. $4 tickets through the Cinema Foundation. Troy Kotsur, the Oscar-winning star of Coda, will open the inaugural edition of the Little Venice Film Festival as ripples from the actors' strike rock the UK film industry. Atwell, David Harewood, and Ben Whishaw are among 100-plus UK actors backing the Equity Greenwriter proposal, which will empower artists and add clauses to their contracts that work towards an environmental culture shift. SAG-AFTRA is telling members it's okay to promote their movies with the interim agreement at film festivals. Wonders never cease. AMPTP brought in a crisis firm to help seek resetting the strike message after talks broke down with WGA and AMPTP. Adam Driver and Mads Mikkelsen are among the actors set to attend the Venice Film Festival as Hollywood guest lists start to take shape. Dune Part 2 moves to 2024, and Aquaman 2, Wonka, and The Color Purple stick to 2023. Legal representation for Bravo E and CNBC tried to tell NBC the day of reckoning has arrived as the network is accused of hiding civil and criminal wrongdoings in reality series NDAs. Rust Armorer trial is set and pushed back to February 2024, and Kevin Smith reteams with Dark Horse Comics for Quick Stops 2. Your girl has been quiet, but your girl's been busy. Today on The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata, we're going to dive into literally a film called The Dive. We're going to talk about Helen Mirren's fantabulous performance in Golda. We're also going to jump into Wayne Shorter's 3-part documentary streaming now on Prime Video called Zero Gravity. Plus, Gran Turismo hit theaters. I'm going to tell you all about it. And Denzel Washington is back in the Equalizer 3. All that and more, plus an interview with Wayne Shorter director Dorsey Alavi coming up right now.
Hold up. Wait a minute. I wish you love, peace, and hair grease.
Love, peace, and hair grease, y'all.
Yeah, you know I'm shooting straight from the hip.
This is Carla Renata, a.k.a. The Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know I'm always shooting straight from the hip.
Hi, everybody. Ooh, your girl has been busy, and I'm tired. But I'm here. I'm here. This is all kinds of wrong. Ooh, and punch drunk at that. If this is your first time joining me, I am Carla Renata. I am your host, and you have tuned into The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata, where we do reviews and talk to people above and below the line in the film industry. If this is your first time here, boo, give me a big thumbs up to let me know you were here. I don't know you were here if you don't give me a thumbs up. Okay. Ooh, and if you're on YouTube, click that subscribe channel and subscribe to a sister, because you never know who you might see here. Let's check the chat room and see if my boy Brandon is here. He is, and he says to me, "Hey, Carla, I have another animation session tomorrow and can't wait to see the next big animated movie and the first movie of the fall, Paw Patrol 2. I know, I like Paw Patrol. I really do. It's so cute." He also tells me he can't wait for the Disenchantment's final season, Adventure Time, Flora and Cake this week. Flora and Cake. I'm sorry, I can't read. Adventure Time, Fiona and Cake this week. There we go. Finally got it right. And he says that he's curious about Gran Turismo. It's directed by one of your favorite movies like District 9. Oh, I got some things to say about Gran Turismo. You're going to love it. Yeah, Neil Blomkamp. Exactly. All right. Welcome, Brandon. You're always here, tried and true, and I love you for it. I really do. So today, we're going to, I usually tell people what I did the week before, but I was busy the week before with a lot of personal stuff and some other projects. But I want to remind those people that are SAG members that I am number 137 on your ballot. It is time to vote, number 137. And here is all of the people that are running on the on the Unity ballot, Unite for Strength. All right. So having said that, let's get right into it, shall we? I saw this film called The Dive. And after seeing The Deepest Breath on Netflix, I was all in. This film is for rent and in theaters. I'm sorry, it's in theaters and for rent on video on demand. It stars Louisa Krause, Sophie Lowe. It's directed by Max Erlenwine, and it's written by Max as well, and it's distributed by RLJE Films. Now, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to come back on camera. I'm not going to lie. Most of RLJE Films are a little sketchy at best, just being honest. But this one was fierce. So, like I said, after seeing The Deepest Breath, it was wild to see this film because my heart was beating so fast the entire time. So this is the gist of it. After these two sisters go deep sea diving, and they go to the most remote parts of the world to do it. And their names are Drew and May. And so Drew and May end up going diving in this really remote place when a catastrophic landslide happens and the rocks tumble into the ocean. One of them hits May and she's injured. Not she's injured, but her oxygen tank is injured and she doesn't have any air. So now they're 28 meters below the surface, and her sister has to go and get her help because May is trapped under the debris and her oxygen is running out. Baby, when I tell you, I I was riveted. I was riveted. I was riveted by the script. I was riveted by the cinematography. I was riveted by the performances by Louisa and Sophie, who I said in the beginning, Louisa Krause and Sophie Lowe. My heart was in my throat the entire time because swimming is one of those things that is it's a challenge for me. I can do it, but I don't particularly enjoy it. And I particularly don't enjoy doing it in large bodies of water where my feet can't touch the ground. So watching this gave me all kinds of anxiety, but it gave me thrills and chills and wonderful performances and wonderful directing and a script by Max. So if you're interested, if you haven't seen The Deepest Breath, I suggest seeing The Deepest Breath on Netflix first, and then go to video on demand and catch out The Dive. All right. So having said that, and here are the sisters, Sophie and May, those Louisa and why did I say Sophie and May? Louisa and Sophie. All right. And the film is called The Dive. All right. So Golda stars Helen Mirren and is based on a true story. It's produced by Bleecker Street and it is in theaters right now. It's directed by Oscar-winning director Guy Nativ, and this is what it deals with. Now, it's misleading because to see this, let me come back. To see this, you would think this is a biography film about Golda Meir. It's not. It's not a film about Golda Meir. So having said that, I'm gonna come back to this, go back to what I was talking about. What it is it deals with this one particular day on October 6, 1973, Israel's holiest day during the month of Ramadan. The combined forces of Egypt, Syria, and Jordan begin a surprise attack on the Sinai Peninsula and the Golan Heights. With the country's forces outnumbered and outgunned, Israel's only female prime minister, Golda Meir, is forced to confront the immediate, clear, and present danger of a ticking time bomb that she hoped she'd never have to face. Excuse me, I had to catch my breath. Surrounded, isolated, and frustrated by the infighting of her all-male cabinet, one woman becomes locked in a race against time to save millions of lives on both sides of the conflict. This movie, they call her the Iron Lady of Israel, very much like they called Margaret Thatcher the Iron Lady of the UK. This is what I'll say about this film. You may not be interested in Golda. You may not care about Golda, but it's history, so you should care. A. It's Jewish history, so you should care. B. And C, you should care because there's only been how many female prime ministers in the beginning of time, since the beginning of time? I can count them on one hand. C. And D, and last but not least, the performance by Helen Mirren in this film is ridiculous. Now, first of all, let's talk about Golda, who was Israel's prime minister. She on the surface, I have to show you this picture so you can get a visual. On the surface, she looks like anybody's, grandmother, Jewish or otherwise. a very unassuming grandmother who chain smokes, and she usually has a little pocketbook, on her wrist like the queen would wear. That's a generational thing, I believe. But this woman right here, she may look like a grandma, but she does not suffer fools while battling a ticking time bomb in her country and a ticking time bomb in her life because she's gravely ill. That's what I want to say about that. This film also shows how powerful women in political positions can be, or in any position, really. I remember when Hillary Clinton was running for president, a lot of people talked about how cold she was. They talked about how they wouldn't want to have a beer with her and all that nonsense. Does it matter what gender the person is if they can get the job done? She had an all male cabinet, and her male cabinet has shenanigans. They were talking all kinds of crazy stuff, and she was like, nope, this is what we're going to do. And she made a phone call to Henry Kissinger, and Henry Kissinger was looking like the US was going to throw Israel under the bus. And baby, she picked up the phone and ripped him a new one. In addition to that, not only did she do that, but she also told him to not take her as someone who suffers fools gladly. She told this beautiful story. It's a beautiful monologue where she talks about being a little girl and hiding as a Jew with her dad under in a closet. She says, I am no longer that little girl hiding in a closet with my father. I'm like, boop, okay, Golda. Let them know. Let them know that you are large and in charge. So it's a part of history that I wasn't very familiar with because I'm not a big history buff, but I probably should be. And I really loved Helen Mirren's performance, and I really loved the directing of Guy Nativ. It was very creatively directed. A lot of times you would see, instead of them showing the war and all the bloody and goriness that goes along with that, as we've seen in so many other movies, they show it through her mind's eye, which was so unique and really refreshing for me. And it was done in such a beautiful cinematic kind of way. And then, of course, the Hitchcock stare shot. I love those. I see them in a lot of movies, and I always call them out when I see them. But yeah, that speech that she gives when she's talking to Henry Kissinger, the way it's shot, and how Guy creatively gives us graphic images, but just playing them out in Golda's head instead of like that, right? So this film takes place during the 19 critical days of the Yom Kippur War. And I'm telling you, Helen Mirren is all that and a bag of chips in this movie. Wayne Shorter is a jazz musician, bar none. He played with the Miles Davis Quintet. He is well known and well respected in the music industry. He's a Grammy Award winning artist. And right now, beginning on August 25th, you can see a 3-part docuseries called Wayne Shorter Zero Gravity. And it's done in different portals. My favorite portal is portal number 2. I love the fact that he was a practicing Buddhist, as am I, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. And I was really struck by the fact that he had so much loss in his life. He lost his parents, he lost his brother, he lost his wife, he lost his child. And he was the last one standing out of all those people, which speaks more to his spirit and tenacity more than anything else. And he was a little bit of a geek. Who knew that Wayne Shorter was a geek? He was the last of the geeks. He loved sci-fi. He loved really weird, strange stuff. He drew a whole sci-fi movie like in a little book with like charcoal pencil. It was hilarious. But instead of me jammering on and on and on, I'm going to let you listen to this interview, take a look and listen to this interview I did with the director. Her name is Dorsey Alavi, and we had a nice little chat. So take a look and a listen to this interview with Dorsey Alavi, the director of Wayne Shorter, Zero Gravity, now playing on Amazon Prime Video. I was intrigued by your documentary, mostly because I practice Buddhism as well. And I was familiar with Wayne and Herbie from that vantage point, but I didn't know how Wayne got there. So this documentary showed me how he got there.
Yeah.
Having said that, when did you first discover Wayne Shorter?
Wayne and I met in the 90s. I was a music video director then. I had just gotten out of film school, and Wayne and I was hired by Verve to do his High Life video. And I had that experience with him, and we became friends for life after that. Very, very close friends with him and his family.
Oh, cool. That's really cool. What kind of music? I'm just curious. What were you just doing music videos for jazz artists or artists in all genres?
Artists in all genres, mainly independent bands. I had an agent, and she just called me one day and she said, well, I have a project for you. It's for a jazz legend. And at that time, I knew Miles Davis. I knew the typical, the bigger names. And I didn't know who Wayne Shorter was. But when I met him and I found out what he had accomplished, I was amazed. And I was amazed that I didn't know who Wayne Shorter was and why the general public doesn't know who Wayne Shorter is. And that it was my mission, was to change that.
Well, you did. I'm going to tell you that. You did that right now. You did that and then some. Yes, you did, ma'am. What would you say in the process of putting this series together? What was the most surprising thing that you learned about Wayne in putting this together? Because, it's one thing to meet someone under the circumstances that you did, but then in doing something this intimate and this personal, you begin to learn some other things.
Well, having been in his life for so long and had the privilege and the honor to be in his personal life, I understood him on a personal and spiritual level, but I had no idea how broad his influence in music was and how many collaborations and how many artists he actually influenced that were outside of the genre. And that was astounding to me. And I'm like, what? I thought he was a jazz musician, but he wasn't just a jazz. He was a composer and so highly regarded by so many, but more so that whenever anybody spoke about Wayne Shorter, they just used the word love. And I think because he emanated such pure love in what he did and how he interacted with every human being he came in contact with.
So thank you for giving me that answer. That was beautiful. I want to talk about the aesthetic of your piece, about how there's a lot of black and white archival footage. There's a lot of black and white reenactments. There's a lot of black and white charcoal things happening. And I wanted to know why you chose to intersperse those things along with telling his story.
Well, first of all, I didn't have a lot of footage to work with because Wayne didn't really, he lived in a time where people were not documenting themselves or what they did. So most of the first Portal, I had to recreate a lot of things because I just had a handful of concerts and I had some photographs that Wayne, and they were professional photographs. I wanted something more intimate. And so I decided to recreate it. But Wayne's love for cinema was really what drove it, is that I was going to make this a cinematic experience because he was greatly influenced by moving pictures. So that was the reason. And each Portal has its own palette, its own look to it. And that was intentional.
Great. I'm glad that you brought up his love of cinema, because when he started talking about the red shoes, I have never in my entire life heard any man in any genre of entertainment reference the red shoes. So that was really, because usually when you talk to artists that are women, that's the first thing that pops out of their mouth, especially if they're dancers or singers or stage performers. First thing out of their mouth is something about the red shoes. They even reference the red shoes in a chorus line, right? But I've never heard a man reference it. So having said all of that, were you a fan of the red shoes?
I love the red shoes. It's a beautiful film, but not to the degree that Wayne did. But I understood even more so through time why he loved that film so much. It represented so much of his own journey, of that balance of having a life and being an artist. It's a difficult balance, and having agency over your own life rather than giving it over to a big, entity that could envelop you very quickly.
I loved how you talked about his Buddhist practice, and one of our staples of our Buddhist practice at Soka Gakkai is turning poison into medicine. And this was an individual who seemed like he spent his entire life doing that. He was constantly being put in a poisonous place where he had to turn it into medicine for his own mental sanctity, right?
Right.
So, having said that, how do you feel about that particular phrase coming out on the other side of this project?
Well, I watched that in action almost every day of Wayne's life. I heard him inspire others when they were having difficulty. I went to Buddhist meetings because I'm a Buddhist as well. And the whole film is constructed in that manner, is that how he grew to greatness through adversity. And so it is a big Buddhist movie in some ways.
You know, I didn't catch that until the second chapter.
Yeah.
Fear into fearlessness, or I think is what it's called. And
Yes.
I was like, oh, we're gonna go there. We're gonna show the scroll. We're gonna show the beings.
Yeah.
We're gonna do all that. Okay. I was
Yeah.
like, all right, Dorsey, I love you. I was very excited. I was like, oh, yay.
Of course.
I
Yeah.
was very excited. Having said that, I'm just curious that if your Buddhist practice and his Buddhist practice being a staple of his life, if that influenced the title of the series, Zero Gravity. Where did that title come from?
It actually, Wayne didn't come up with the title of the movie, but he often used zero gravity for when it came to his music, but it represented something so much bigger, as Wayne always, everything he does has this underpinning, underlying philosophical ideals. So for him, that zero gravity is present moment fear, without any mandate, non-conformity to any higher, mandate. And so I think for him, zero gravity was that's in his music, there are sections where they go into the zero gravity space, where they're free to improvise, to be completely in that moment and not on the page. So musically, yes, but he applies that to his life in many ways.
Speaking of that, as we close out our conversation, I know we lost him earlier this year, and having worked on this project for a while, I'm imagining, and gathering all this information from him and having these really intimate conversations with him about his life and his journey and his career and his sound. How would you describe his sound coming out on the other side of this project now after working on this series?
Wayne's sound is a dialogue with every individual listener. He is transmitting a high frequency that's beyond the five senses, that is encouraging you to be the master of your own destiny, that your freedom is yours and no one can take it away from you, and stay very true to your own mission in life. I always believe that his intention is that every time he plays a note, is to transmit that to every listener.
That is a beautiful way to end this conversation. Dorsey, thank you so very much for carving time out of your day for me. Namyo Horenge, my sister.
Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorsey. That was a really wonderful conversation. I enjoyed talking to her. I really enjoyed watching the doc again. It is streaming right now on Amazon Prime Video. Let's talk a little bit about Gran Turismo. Now, Gran Turismo got some mixed reviews from critics. It did not get a mixed review from me because I absolutely loved it. It is directed by one of Brandon's favorites, Neil Blomkamp, and it stars David Harbour, Orlando Bloom, and Archie Madake, who is pictured in that photo. Archie plays Jan Mardenborough, who becomes a world-class racer based on his skills that he learned through the Gran Turismo video game. I'm going to say that again. He plays Jan Mardenborough, who becomes a world-class racing game player who used his console skills to become a professional race car driver. Now, What I'm gonna tell you is this film does not waste any time getting out of the gate with the action. It goes right into it. And the racing sequences are ridiculous. There's one sequence in particular. I don't want to ruin it for you, but it literally took my breath away and my hands were up like this. I was like, "Oh my God, did that just really happen on camera?" And all I could think about is, "Oh my goodness, how did they shoot that?" Anywho, it was great. I'm a big racing car fan. Like, I'm that girl that will watch NASCAR. If I could go to NASCAR or any of the other ones, um, and just sit there and watch people race, I totally would. So I was head over heels. Like, I think I secretly wanted to be a race car driver when I was a kid, and my mother was having none of that. But it's based on this PlayStation game, right? And there's like 7 different versions of this game. And Jan played this game religiously every single day. And then Nissan came up with a contest where they were going to take 10 of the best players in the world and train them to be professional race car drivers, and only one person can win. And Jan won. Now, it didn't come without its challenges, and it definitely didn't come with the support of his father. His father was having none of that. His father wanted him to be a soccer player or get a real job, as any parent says when you're trying to do something that is not a 9 to 5 in a bank, being a lawyer, a doctor, anything like that. They're like, get a real job. But this young man has gone on to win multiple championships since he did this contest, and has become one of the most well-respected racers in the game. This is an action-packed filled story, but it's a family story. It's a story about a father and son, and about a son who desperately wants the approval of his dad, in which he's willing to do anything to get it. That's the best part of it. The use of CGI is really cool. It puts you right in the game. It puts you right behind the wheel with Archie's, aka Jan. And Jan actually did his own stunts for the film. So all those driving sequences that you see, it's not Archie. Archie didn't even know how to drive. Archie did not even know how to drive when he got this role. So they had Jan do all of his driving sequences. But that film is really good. It was fire. I had a good time, and there was applause after I watched it. So I don't know what people are seeing or what they thinking, but Gran Turismo was the ish. All right, last but not least, I want to talk about a film that's coming up on Labor Day weekend. It is Denzel Washington. He is back in the Equalizer 3, and this is the final chapter in the franchise. And it is very, very, very well done. So, this is the gist of it. Since giving up his life as a government assassin, Robert McCall, played by Denzel Washington, has struggled to reconcile the horrific things he's done in the past, and finds a strange solace in serving justice on behalf of the oppressed. Finding himself surprisingly at home in southern Italy, he discovers new friends and who are under the control of the local crime bosses, aka mafia. As the events turn deadly, McCall knows that he has to do what he has to do to become his friend's protector and take on the mafia. Let me tell you something about Denzel Washington. I love him in action roles. I love seeing him in action roles because as black actors, I can't see him enough for my taste. I love Tom Cruise and all the others, but I like Denzel Washington. I love seeing Denzel Washington. And in this final chapter, what I really loved is it showed a black man in an action film who was aging. He's aging. He's at that point in his life where he's like, what do I want my life to be? I don't want it to be all that stuff that it's been. I mean, there's a sequence where he's going up the stairs after he's had a little run in, and going up them stairs is a situation. And as an older person, going upstairs and coming downstairs is a situation. I could appreciate that. Now, mind you, he only had that situation because he was injured, and it took him a minute. And once he was back in his stride, he was running up the steps. But I'm just saying, aging is a situation. But we never see a hero age in a movie. We always see them looking, at their prime, in their prime, being, buff and all that. We don't see them aging. We don't see them go, I think I want to lead a quiet life. I think I want to see what life looks like when it's just quiet. where I can have the simple things. Nothing speaks to this film more than watching Denzel Washington as Robert McCall have a cup of espresso every day as part of his routine, because it's the simple things, right? And it was just great to watch him make his home in this small Italian town and make them his family. It's a story that's familiar, but it's a story that's exciting. And it's exciting because Denzel Washington is in it. So if you are a Denzel Washington fan, if you love the Equalizer franchise, if you like the Equalizer TV series with Queen Latifah, you are going to love the Equalizer 3. It hits theaters this September on Labor Day weekend on September 1st. Let me recap what I have talked about for y'all. We talked about The Dive, which is on video demand right now. We talked about Golda. We talked about, let me find the pictures. There we go. We talked about Wayne Shorter, Zero Gravity on Prime Video right now, Gran Turismo, which is in theaters right now, and of course, The Equalizer 3, which is going to be in theaters beginning September 1st. Now, you guys, I am not going to be here next week because it is Labor Day weekend and your girl is broke down and I got some catching up I need to do. So I will not be here next week, but what I will do is I will give you a pre-taped show of what's happening at the Toronto International Film Festival on, it won't be on Labor Day weekend, but it will be on September 10th. So you will have a pre-taped show on September 10th because I'm gigging that day, doing something that is not, I'm not crossing the picket line, but I am working that day. And so I can't be here in person. So I will pre-tape a TIFF preview for you, and let you know what to be looking for down the road as stuff starts to roll out of the film festivals this fall. And again, if this is your first time joining me, give me a big thumbs up to let me know you were here. Subscribe to the channel if you are on the YouTube. Always give me a comment, always give me some feedback. I'm always down for that. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this, whether it was live or whether you watched it after the fact when it was taped. I do appreciate it. So like I said, I will not be here next week, but I will come back on September 10th with a preview of what is going down at the Toronto International Film Festival. I'm usually there live, but because of the strike, I don't want to cross the picket line and honor my brothers and sisters in the solidarity struggle. All righty. So yeah, you guys, this was fun. I have to give a shout out to my friend Albert Lawrence because I was not going to come on today because I'm booty tired. And he was like, "Girl, you better go on there and do that show." I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna do it just because you said so." So here I am. Thank you for looking out for me, my brother. Anywho, I will see y'all later. Stay safe, stay sane. COVID is back on the upswing, so wash your hands, wear a mask if you feel the need to do so. And until the next time, deuces. Catch you on the flip side. Bye.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
Wrong one. Bye.